Self-isolation is for self-improvement. Avoidance and fear through self-isolation is something you do to feel safe. You need to be running towards something, not from it. What's up, you guys? It's me, Nubia here, and today we will be talking about the pros and cons of self-isolation. Do y'all want to start with the pros or the cons first, the good or the bad news? We'll start with the good news because more than likely you've watched a bunch of videos about telling you guys the key to becoming a better person, or at least one of the keys to becoming a better person is to self-isolate, but they never talk about the negatives. So before you self-isolate, watch this video so you can get the truth behind it and also some ways that it can help and hurt you. Let's get started. First, we're gonna get right into it with the pros of self-isolation. Number one is getting to know yourself outside of who you've been around and outside of what you've been through throughout your life. Outside of the media, of course, because that does affect you, and outside of the people around you, outside of the opinions of your family, your friends. You really only see things from your point of view, so it takes a weight off your shoulders. You know, imagine you're around people who are constantly telling you about the way that you look, right? The minute you decide, like, you know, I'm gonna step away from media, I'm gonna step away from everybody, you start to have your own opinions, your own thoughts about what you look like because you're not hearing the naysayers. You know what I mean? That's a little example, and it may be a little extreme, but that's what self-isolation can bring. Not only that, you start to find good things that you used to enjoy enjoyable again, or even the habits that you got into that may not be as well repulsive because you have your own mind. When you self-isolate, you don't get to see how anybody feels. You know, you're not looking for that, or at least you shouldn't be, because you're in this whole entire bubble. You know, I don't know if you can self-isolate when you're in a family environment. I think that takes a lot more mental strength to be able to totally detach your mind from whatever they have going on, which will help you be stronger in the long run. But I always grew up in a household where it more felt like I was with my roommates. It didn't really feel like a family environment, so it was even easy for me to self-isolate them. But like I said, not everybody has that privilege. Then as you figure out who you are without all the outside circumstances of what you've been through and who you've been around, you start to figure out what doesn't fit, what people don't fit, what things don't fit in your life. You have to be able to look at things from a third person's point of view instead of looking at it from her point of view, which is also good, or your point of view. You look at it like a bird up in the sky, like, who knows a lot about social interaction, of course, and you look at things like that and you figure out, like, maybe this person doesn't need to be in my life anymore. Maybe I need to start keeping the conversation minimal. Self-isolation allows you to look at the bigger picture instead of things in the moment. Since you're always constantly getting interaction, it's so hard to just sit and think, is this normal? Is this not normal? Does this work for me? Does this not work for me? It gives you that sense of independence. It gives you that sense of being able to trust your instinct and being able to figure out, is my instinct right? Am I relying on instinct or anxiety, which I talked about in my overthinking video. Next, and this is my favorite thing about self-isolation. Self-isolation makes you feel good even when you're all by yourself, even when you don't have anybody. For example, you may feel less anxious when you go out alone. You know, you're able to have your alone dates. You don't need to always be going out with so-and-so or feeling like, oh, I can't go here because I'm gonna be by myself. Or when you are in a group of people, you don't feel anxious either around them because you know who you are deep down inside. Now, a lot of times you can't accomplish that when you're not self-isolating. You feel like you need validation. And then I'm not even talking about in public, but you'll also feel even better being alone on social media. And when I say that, I mean you will feel better being who you are and what you want on social media. You'll start seeing things for what they really are, which is just people showing their highlight reels, to the point where you won't aspire for your content to look like someone else's content, or you will only use yourself as the goal for what you want to post and whatnot. So when you show up on social media, even, you're standing in yourself like, this is my shit. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to get on nobody else's shit. And you'll start posting and being who you truly are, especially if you want to be a content creator. One thing that I've noticed is those folks who try to be other people, they are attracting people for the personality that they're trying to be. Eventually the truth always comes out, and eventually you lose that audience because they realize that's not you. That's really not you, and I can't get with that. The last but not least, you feel so good alone that you stop comparing yourself to other people. You stop looking at their achievements. You're not measuring your progress based off of what you're seeing, because guess what? You're in self-isolation, right? So you're not seeing anything but you. Just like Lil Baby said, I don't see nobody but me. Who am I going to lose to? When you know yourself and you love yourself enough to go out alone, people going with you is because you care about them. You want to experience things with them, not because you're afraid to go alone, you know? And then the last one, self-isolation will give you a sense of purpose. When you're so used to being around everyone, you listen to what people say. You don't even know how much what you watch and the things that people say and the things that people feel about themselves can affect you, you know? You don't know how much projection can affect you. When you're in self-isolation, you learn to love yourself so much that you're not afraid to do all the things you were afraid to do before. You're not afraid to go out for that job. You're not afraid to start that business. You're not afraid to post that video. You're not afraid to make that call. You're not afraid to do anything because you know deep down, this is what I want to do. It may work, it may not, but you will know and you won't have regrets about it later. You know, truthfully, if it wasn't for self-isolation, I'm telling you, I am a self-isolation stand-byer. Once you feel that sense of purpose, you also are able to figure out your priorities. When I keep saying your, I mean your priorities, not the priorities that came from the trauma you've been through, not the priorities that came from the thing that somebody said to you that made you think like, no, I need to go harder, I need to go do this, I need to do that. No, your priorities for what you want next in your life, and being able to trust yourself to make those decisions. And then through that sense of purpose, you'll start to use positive habits to cope with emotionally challenging things. You'll start resulting to journaling instead of gossiping. You'll start resulting to praying instead of worrying. You'll start resulting to freaking a nice brisk walk in the park. Boom, you're able to just cope with things better once you find your sense of purpose, because you know you're not going to do anything to get in the way of your purpose, right? I hope not. And then the last thing, when it comes to your purpose, you will understand self-isolation so much that you may even choose periods that you need to isolate. For example, school's coming up, you know how you get when you need to lock in with yourself for school. You know that if you go from that party August 9th and you got school on August 10th, you know it ain't gonna work. So you know what, maybe 2 weeks before school, I'm just gonna register for my classes, not be on social media, establish a strong foundation for school so that I can go into school. And then you know what, maybe second week of school, I'll log back in because I'm so used to the schedule. You know, you'll start knowing, you know what, I know myself, maybe I need a little bit of isolation, you know? I be doing that. Before I moved, I didn't tell anybody I moved. I logged off of social media because I truly didn't need to see anything. I didn't need to feel validation from posting, ooh, I moved, because as much as self-control as I have, sometimes you get caught in, oh, it's just a post, you know? But I just wanted to enjoy this in its moment and just really establish who I am, because it wasn't all rainbows and fairies when I moved. I needed that. So those are some great things, right? But when it comes to isolation, you need to be prepared for what you'll realize, set intentions for your isolation, and be comfortable living in that truth. So here's some cons that I feel about self-isolation that before you isolate, you need to hear right now. First thing, you will see sides of yourself, if you're self-aware, that are very ugly, that might make you overcritical about who you are, what you've done, or might make you obsess about who you want to be. Y'all get what I'm saying or no? Okay, I'm going to give you examples. Thank you. So random memories from the past might pop up where you're thinking about, oh, I did this when I should have done this, because you got all the time. You might think about things from the past that cause you to reflect on what you wish you would have changed. Random memories might pop up from the past of things that you've done, that you see parts of you that you really realize you don't like that still exist today. Also, insecurity may arise if you are used to judgment and getting validation from others. And then the worst thing is, and this is only for some people, is once the truth hits you about yourself and where things came from, because it can bring up a whole bunch of memories and whatnot, you may choose to cope in certain ways. And this is really only for certain people, because not everybody's the same way. I only say it because I went through it. But when you realize who you are, how you want to change, and just where it all came from, especially when memories pop up, you may resort to choosing bad habits before you choose the good one. When you're alone, you have no choice but to face the truth. The truth is inevitable. Even if the truth doesn't come out tomorrow, it may come out next year, 2 years, 3 years, but the truth is inevitable. And when you have to face it, you will act after you face it. You can either choose to act right or act wrong. You're going to want to escape from that reality, which is a hard truth to face. Some people are just like that. If you're in that stage, and of course you have a healthy mind, eventually you'll hit rock bottom so much that you have to choose yourself. You have to choose yourself, y'all. You know? And it sucks, because even then you may look at, dang, I had to go through all that. But it's like, you know, isolation brought you to the point where you faced so many demons. You've tried everything that you have no business trying, that all you have is yourself, you know? And then this one is a big one. Number 2, self-isolation can become a coping mechanism for how you handle emotionally challenging things. So instead of self-isolating because you're trying to better yourself, you're trying to figure out more things about yourself, you do it because it's easier. You do it because instead of facing certain problems, it's easier to just avoid them. So you can get in a pattern of feeling like, you know, once you feel, like I said, one good thing about self-isolating, you feel great even when you're alone. Once you feel great even when you're alone, you feel like, dang, something messed up when I was around people. Let me just be alone. Trust me, I did it too. It didn't work too long. So instead of just disappearing because you're trying to self-improve, you're disappearing because it's comfortable. It's easy. It's something, you know, I've already mastered being alone. I can be alone, you know, and pop back up whenever I'm over whatever emotionally challenging things I've been through. And that shouldn't be the goal for you. I'm sorry. Self-isolation is for improving yourself outside of your outside circumstances. You know, getting to the root of it. You shouldn't have to self-isolate all the time. That's not self-isolation. You start feeling like, oh, I'll just disappear and pop back up and act like everything's good. No, nothing's changed if that's the reason why you're doing it. Don't get comfortable in self-isolation. Do not get comfortable. Self-isolation should be the most uncomfortable thing ever. You should be seeing things about yourself that make you uncomfortable, you know, because not everybody's perfect. You should be doing things that make you uncomfortable. It shouldn't be something that you feel like, you know what, I'll just ghost everybody, you know. I'm okay with just doing everything. Trust me, I've been there. I'm okay with just doing everything by myself, and I'll just pop up when I'm ready, because then it's like, girl, ain't nobody waiting on you. Don't nobody care that much, okay? Please, you're not doing nobody nothing but a favor. So get real. And through that, you may truly convince yourself you don't need anyone, and that's not true. Because it feels safe not to need anyone, right? It feels safe not to get your feelings hurt, when in reality, everybody needs somebody. And then the last thing, when you're done isolating, if you did it correctly, you might find yourself in a place where the passions that you had passions for before aren't your passions anymore. The habits that you used to have aren't your habits anymore. The people that you used to hang out with, you don't, you know, fit in with anymore. And as a result, you get out of self-isolation, and yeah, you know, you have your foundation, that's great, but for your social life, for your hobby life and everything like that, you look around like, so what now? you're lost. You're like, so what now? You know, I felt so comfortable being with that person I had no business being with. Now I've self-isolated, so what's next? You get confused. You get in a period of confusion. In the short run, it'll suck, but it's only in the short run. You make it to a point where you don't know where you fit in at all, and you have to go about finding out what works for you. And in the process, you may get hurt. In the process, you may be disappointed, or in the process, it could go completely well. But you get in a point where you have to stop isolating. You know, once you gotta figure out what your groove is, in that period, you have to stop isolating. Because if you try to do it while you're still isolating, figuring out where you fit in, you'll have to step out of your shell. You'll have to step out of being alone and step into environments that you don't even recognize anymore. You will only figure out if you're good at something when you do it, right? So you have to step out and you have to figure out where you fit into things and what else you need to work on and whatnot. And it just takes you just getting out of isolation and doing it. And then this too, which I just beat, thank the Lord. But once you get out of self-isolation, you're gonna face temptation for the old things that you used to do. All the old things that you literally told yourself, ain't gonna cut it. They're gonna come back into your life. And I'm telling you, every time you do some stuff you don't have any business doing, anytime you do some stuff that you know you've grown out of, you're gonna end up right back in that same spot. The last thing I wanna say is tell people that you care about that you're isolating. One mistake I made was, and I don't think I was really self-isolated, I think this was the toxic version of it, is just disappearing, changing my number, doing whatever. If you don't tell people you're self-isolating, yes, they should be able to say, hey, are you okay, or whatever. But if you are just the type of person that's just like, I'm just gonna pop back up better, no, tell them like, I need time to myself. You don't need to go into detail, but just tell them like, I just need time to myself. You know what I mean? So try to just not like ghost the people that you care about, and especially if you know they're not the problem, because all the time you know why you're self-isolating. You know if it's you, if it's other people, whatever it is. Just tell the people that you care about like, hey, I need some time to myself. If you don't hear from me for 3 to 4 months, 2 to 3 weeks, whatever, this is why. I'm just taking some time to myself. I love you so much. If you need me in an emergency, call me, period. You don't have to say I'm going through this, I'm going through that. No, let them know your testimony later. Let them know your testimony later after you're through it, okay? Just say that and get through it. So yes, there's a difference. Self-isolation is for self-improvement. Self-isolation is strictly for you figuring out your role in your own life, your role in others' life, figuring out just the little small intricate things that you don't really have time to pay attention to because of so much that's going around you. It's a time to hone in on your priorities, hone in on what matters to you the most, not just the little things that may seem fun like scrolling through Instagram or posting or whatever. But avoidance and fear through self-isolation is something you do to feel safe. You do it because it's comfortable. It's something that you do unannounced. It's something that you do to an inconvenience. It's something that you do to run away from things. It's not something that betters yourself. It's something that you say, you know what, it'll blow over. It's like when somebody does you wrong and thinks 2 months later they can just hop back like, hey friend. No, that's basically what I'm saying. That's what it is. And then needing some alone time is like a couple days, like, oh, I just need to just chill out, you know, maybe write in my journal, have a movie night, a self-care night. But self-isolation is for self-improvement. It's for looking at the good and the bad. It's for looking at your faults and where you might have been right. It's for looking at what you want to do without everybody else's opinions. It's about looking at what you've been through and realizing I need to get that out of my personality because that's why I act that way. And a lot of times when you got so much going on, you're looking at so much, you're watching TV, you're doing this, you're not realizing, in a way, you're avoiding those memories. You're avoiding those little things that really affect who you are. So self-isolation brings all of that out, you know? In conclusion, y'all, before you isolate yourself, ask yourself why. My dad always told me you need to be running towards something, not from it. Isolation is a key to furthering yourself, not the solution. There's ways that you can turn self-isolation into something toxic, and there's ways that you can turn self-isolation into the best thing that you've ever done for yourself. Thank y'all so much for watching, and if you guys really do like these videos, like the little wine talks or whatever, let me know and I'll keep them coming. Please take care of yourself, and if you need to step away, you need to step away, okay? Stop letting folks bully you into being around everybody, okay? See you later.